Iran flatly quashed US claims of peace talks and unleashed its 81st wave of Operation True Promise 4 in a sharp response.
No negotiations have taken place so far. They have put forward some ideas. I saw in 1 or 2 places that it was described as a 15-point plan. For now, our policy is to continue resisting and to continue defending the country.
As Washington threatened harder hits, Iran pounded key Israeli cities, Haifa, Dimona, Hadera, and Tel Aviv, in its latest multi-target missile barrage. In the latest wave, US bases in Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait came under fresh fire again, dragging Washington's key regional hubs deeper into the line of fire. Inside Israel, more than 5,000 people have now been injured since the war began. Are Israelis paying the price for Trump and Netanyahu's war? Mujtaba Khamenei's arsenal of Ahmad, Chiam, Khorramshahr, and Qadr missiles continue to rain down on Israeli and US-linked targets, flexing Iran's ability to keep up complex salvos week after week. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced the launch of the 81st wave of its Operation True Promise 4 on March 25, signaling that its missile and drone campaign is continuing at a high tempo. According to the IRGC, the latest strikes were aimed at more than 70 targets, including the Israeli cities of Haifa, Dimona, Hadera, and Tel Aviv. Iran said it used its Ahmad, Chiam, Khorramshahr and Qadr ballistic missile systems to carry out this wave of attacks. The IRGC added that the target set also included satellite stations inside Israel as well as Middle Eastern bases that host US troops. This 81st wave was codenamed O Revealer of Knowledge and was described as a tribute to martyrs, with a special dedication to Sayyid Javad Azadi. Israel's health ministry has reported that nearly 5,200 people have been injured since the war began, reflecting the cumulative impact of repeated missile and rocket barrages. In Saudi Arabia, explosions were heard after drone strikes near Prince Sultan Air Base, according to local and regional reporting. The Saudi Ministry of Defense said its air defenses intercepted 4 drones over the kingdom's eastern region during the latest attacks. Meanwhile, blasts were reported at the US Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain, where alarm sirens were heard as part of the response, according to IRGC statements. The IRGC also claimed that Al Azraq Air Base in Jordan and the Ali Al Salem and Arif Jan bases in Kuwait were hit in this wave. US forces in Erbil in northern Iraq were also reported to have come under attack, and the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln was said to have been forced to reposition. Iranian forces further claimed they had successfully targeted an advanced US F-18 fighter jet during these operations. Iran stated that this was the 4th US jet downed in the conflict, saying it was hit over the Chabahar area and crashed into the Indian Ocean. Iranian media released video footage on March 25 that they said showed the downing of the F-18. Iran asserted that the aircraft was precisely struck using missiles from a new advanced air defense system deployed by its forces. However, US Central Command publicly refuted these claims, stating that none of its aircraft had been shot down. In parallel, Iran's foreign minister moved to clarify Tehran's position on a reported 15-point US plan concerning Iran. Abbas Araghchi said that no negotiations are currently being held between Iran and the United States. At the same time, the US issued a new warning, demanding that Iran accept defeat in the conflict or face being hit even harder in future strikes.
No negotiations have taken place so far. I state firmly that there has been no negotiation or dialogue with the American side. However, in recent days the American side has begun sending various messages through different intermediaries. Messages being conveyed through our friendly countries, and us responding by stating our positions or issuing the necessary warnings, is not called negotiation or dialogue. It is simply an exchange of messages through our friends. They have put forward some ideas. I saw in 1 or 2 places that it was described as a 15-point plan, but these were presented as various proposals. All of them have been conveyed to the country's senior authorities, and if it becomes necessary to take a position, that will certainly be decided. For now, our policy is to continue resisting and to continue defending the country. At present we have no intention of negotiating, and no negotiations have taken place. The fact that they are now talking about negotiations is, in itself, an admission of defeat. Were they not demanding unconditional surrender? So why are they now speaking about negotiations? I will explain this further, because there are no negotiations taking place. But the very fact that an enemy that was seeking our unconditional surrender is now talking about negotiations, requesting talks, and mobilizing its highest officials to negotiate with the Islamic Republic means accepting defeat. We want the war to end, but on our terms, in a way that ensures it will not be repeated and that our enemies learn a lesson, so they will not even contemplate attacking Iran again. Second, the damage suffered by the people of Iran must be compensated.
Following President Trump's powerful threat on Saturday evening, it was made clear to the United States that Iran wanted to talk. President Trump is willing to listen. As President Trump announced on Monday, the United States has been engaged over the last 3 days in productive conversations, which led the president to temporarily instruct the Department of War to postpone planned strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure only. The remaining elements of the Iranian regime have another opportunity to cooperate with President Trump, permanently abandoned their nuclear ambitions, and cease actively threatening America and our allies. But the president's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.